In 2008, a cardboard container inside a North Carolina attic transformed all prior beliefs regarding one of the bloodiest clashes of the Civil War. Contained within was a narrative muted for 140 years, and what that witness observed was never meant to be shared. For more than a century, the official chronicles presented a single account of the Battle of the Crater, a Union catastrophe that claimed thousands of lives during 1864. But Confederate Private Robert Knox's manuscript, concealed and neglected, uncovered something that history volumes purposefully omitted: the cruel aftermath that leaders from both sides attempted to conceal. By this video's conclusion, you will learn what Knox witnessed that July day, why his account disappeared from the historical record, and how present-day scholars are now reworking this segment of the Civil War. This is not merely about revealing old papers, it is about facing the unpleasant realities that become removed from history. Let's begin with how this even came to light. July 2008, Lynchburg, Virginia. A household clearing out their great-grandmother's property comes across a worn cardboard carton labeled solely with the year 1867. Within, wrapped in oiled cloth, sat a leather-bound notebook, 143 pages of dense penmanship, some passages smudged by what looked like moisture harm, others composed in hurried, trembling handwriting. The household first believed it was simply another soldier's daily log, food consumed, distances walked, the ordinary specifics of Army life. But when they presented it to Dr. Patricia Sullivan, a Civil War expert at the University of Virginia, she instantly recognized something remarkable. One entry, dated July 30th, 1864, started with these words: "What I saw this day will torment me until my death. I ask God to pardon us all, for I cannot absolve myself." July 30th, 1864. That marked the date of the Battle of the Crater, one of the Union's most disastrous breakdowns of the entire conflict. But Robert Knox was not recording the battle itself. He was recording what occurred afterward. To grasp why this matters, we must return to that oppressive summer day near Petersburg. By July 1864, the Civil War had been continuing for 3 merciless years. General Ulysses S. Grant had Union troops trapped in a siege of Petersburg, Virginia, the gateway to seizing the Confederate capital of Richmond, merely 25 miles to the north. But the Confederate defenses proved too robust for a direct assault, so a unit of Pennsylvania coal miners devised a daring scheme. They would excavate a 511-foot tunnel beneath Confederate positions, fill it with 8,000 pounds of gunpowder, and literally blast a gap in the enemy defenses. At 4:44 a.m. on July 30th, the detonation occurred. The boom was audible in Richmond. The explosion left a hole 170 feet in length, 60 feet across, and 30 feet deep, killing around 278 Confederate soldiers on the spot. What could have been a smart strategic win became a total disaster. Union leaders sent repeated groups of men straight down into that hole rather than going past its edges. Confederate troops, after recovering from surprise, circled the dip and made it into a zone of slaughter. Among the Union ranks stood battalions of the United States colored troops, black men fighting to earn their liberty. And here, Robert Knox's journal becomes vital, because what he recorded goes against the cleaned-up story found in formal Army records. If you are picking up something new about this overlooked part of history, please go ahead and press that like button. It truly helps more people find these unshared accounts. Now, this is what Knox observed that shifted everything. Knox was a 19-year-old soldier in the 25th Virginia Infantry, stationed on the crater's edge as Confederate fighters regained control. His note from that afternoon is disturbing. The colored troops lifted white cloths and dropped their guns, begging for mercy, but Captain Weaver gave no command to allow surrender. What came next, I cannot describe openly. Men shot while pleading, officers turning their gaze. One soldier next to me threw up and refused to shoot. I also refused to fire, even with my weapon in hand. This was not combat. This was killing. Knox's writing matches scattered clues that historians long suspected but could never fully prove. Confederate fighters executed black Union soldiers who were trying to give up, a violation of wartime rules by any measure, even back in 1864. Official Confederate records merely said that the crater was reclaimed with little fight. Union reports centered on planning errors while ignoring what happened to captured black soldiers. Both sides had motives to hide this portion of events, yet Knox continued writing. In a note dated August 3rd, he tells of facing his superior officer. "I asked Lieutenant Morrison why we refused to accept their surrender. He replied that it was not his call to make. Then he spoke something that chilled me. 'Some things aren't meant for written history, son. Better you forget what you saw.' But I will not forget." And he did not. Knox lived through the war, went back to North Carolina, and seemingly hid this diary. Researchers think he might have planned to release it after his death, but his passing in 1903 happened without warning. An accident on his farm. And the diary ended up inside a chest, then a loft, forgotten across years. Until 2008. Since being verified, Knox's journal has been referenced in more than 40 scholarly articles and 3 significant books on the Civil War. This document has helped confirm the official record that, indeed, atrocities happened against black Union troops, and indeed, a deliberate attempt existed to remove those wrongs from public memory. Yet here is what makes Knox's writing so extraordinary: his moral honesty. Keep in mind, he fought for the Confederacy. Given the beliefs of his era and location, he had every motive to excuse the events or keep quiet. Instead, he named the act for what it was: murder. His last journal entry regarding the crater, from September 1864, states, "We are told we battle for our households and our customs. But if those customs demand such deeds, then maybe they ought to collapse. I cannot say whether we will succeed in this conflict, but I am certain we have sacrificed something more valuable: our humanity." Knox abandoned his post 3 months afterward. His military files indicate he merely left his company and never came back. He was not by himself. By the end of 1864, Confederate desertion numbers had risen sharply, partly because soldiers such as Knox could no longer align their actions with their supposed cause. So what lessons emerge from Robert Knox's hidden account? First, that original materials, the direct words of those present, cannot be replaced. Formal records get composed by winners and leaders with their own biases. The real story usually rests in correspondence, daybooks, and notebooks that were never intended for printing. Second, that the aftermath of the Civil War is much more layered than what we typically learn. Yes, enslavement was at its core. The diary makes that impossible to ignore. But it also involved personal ethical choices under extreme pressure. Knox chose to recall rather than erase, to record rather than defend. And third, that history is never truly finished. There remain lofts with cartons, still storage rooms with unsorted items, still tales awaiting discovery. The version of history we currently hold is incomplete, and that ought to make us modest regarding what we assume we know and inquisitive about what remains hidden. Knox's journal is now kept at the Library of Virginia, open for scholars. The Battle of the Crater location is a national park where guides now incorporate Knox's witness into their explanation of that day's events. His voice, muted for 140 years, is finally listened to. Here is my question for you. If you had found yourself in Robert Knox's situation, seeing something terrible that went against everything you had been raised to fight for, would you have mustered the bravery to put it on paper, to keep the truth alive even if it could ruin you? Share your real reply in the comment section below. I go through every single response. If this narrative shifted what you believed about the Civil War, click that subscribe button. Each week we dig up forgotten history like this. And watch the video right here, where we examine another Confederate soldier's diary that uncovered a hidden system aiding enslaved individuals to flee. History is never just a single narrative. It consists of countless viewpoints, and some of those voices have waited an extremely long while to get noticed. Thank you for watching. I will meet you in the next one.